This is an idea I was never truly happy with. If you don't know the Gregbot theory, it's the idea that the main character of Security Breach, Gregory, and the main MacGuffin of Ruin, is actually a robot. This is pretty dumb in hindsight. This is gonna be like my Freddy video where I'm not holding back, I'm going all out, I'm showing all the evidence I can find and just disproving it. Let's just jump into with what's the easiest thing to disprove. The fact they look the same. And like, kinda, but not exactly. I'm gonna show you the Fnaf 4 sprite, the encyclopedia art of CC and Gregory. And from head to toe, while they do share a lot of similarities, they are still pretty different in a lot of cases. Like for example, sure they both have brown hair, but let's not forget that the, Silverized graphic novel had to change Jessica over to being a blonde because, there was like 3 brunettes as main characters. Brown is just a common hair color in this series, so that doesn't mean anything. Then you got stuff like, oh, they put a bandage on his knee in the encyclopedia artwork, and like, yeah, but for the encyclopedia artwork, they also moved the stripes on the shirt further down and showed that it wasn't the same shirt. Because Gregory has some buttons at the top of his shirt and CC doesn't have that. And there's the obvious fact that CC's eyes are pure black in the Fnaf 4 sprite, and they seem to be some sort of brown in the encyclopedia artwork, but I'm not fully on board with that. The shoes are different, and it's just a lot of differences to say they look the exact same. Do they look similar? Yeah, I won't deny that. But the same? No, I can't say that. Especially since, they also don't act the same. Gregory more so acts... Well, we can get into it later, but CC is... Well, he's the crying child. He cries at everything. It's his one and only defining trait. And, the personalities are different. And to get that perfect version of the design where it looks exactly like Gregory, you kinda have to meld together the encyclopedia and Fnaf 4 sprite renders. Fnaf 4 sprite for, the shirt stripes being further up, but the encyclopedia for the bandage on the knee, which, why is that important? I don't know, it's just that there's a case of where they make similarities and then get rid of them only to bring them back, I think? It's odd, right? And the next piece is the screen filter. There are multiple explanations for this, but let's shoot down the first piece, that they're illusion discs. While I agree they are probably illusion discs for as much as I hate those things, they wouldn't affect a robot like this. We know from the novels that Charlie, the only robot human we have around, wasn't affected any differently by them. If you're pulling robot kids for a theory, you pull everything about them from the books and not just things that fit your idea. For as wacky and messy as the sound illusion discs are, they do have very clear rules that they set. Vanny does have that high-pitched whirring when you're around her, but this isn't how they actually affect Charlie in the books. And, let's not also forget that Charlie was made sometime in the damn 80s. We're in the 2030s, seemingly, or according to tales like 2015, which makes no fucking sense. Anyway, we're in like the 2030s now. Shouldn't have his eye cameras gotten better over time, not worse? It's kind of meh. And, there's kind of a very real explanation of, it could just be a gameplay thing. Look, we get screen filters in more places than just when Vanny's around, like with Moon or Phaser Blast. Now, Phaser Blast you can explain away with us putting on the helmet when we grab the Phaser Blaster to keep track of game features like health and how many areas are left. But Moon... that's a lot harder to explain away. But these two have something in common that the bots just don't. You can't hide from them. Vanny and Moon are able to track you down wherever you are. You can't hide from them in hiding spots, you can't hide from them in Freddy. They will run and find you. It doesn't matter where you try and hide. They will always know where you are. And it's just good game design to give an immediate and clear indication to the player, hey, this threat is way bigger than the previous ones. You should take it way more seriously. It's good game design, but then comes to the question of, in FNAF, what is game design? And what is lore? Because believe it or not, there is still a difference here. And I think that's the part that trips so many people up, is that some stuff is just gameplay thing, you know? But let's say, fine, you need some sort of in-universe explanation. Option 2. In Ruin, Cassie gets an eye implant that infects various things, such as the pause menu descriptions of tasks, pushing her to think less and act quicker, a trait of Gregory from the base game, but it also affects the way she sees the world and lets her see Helpy when she shouldn't be able to. If Gregory has one of these eye chips, then Vanny and Moon could mess with it. It's something that Ruin doesn't really play with for Moon, but if you need a lore explanation, the eye chip being messed with is way more likely than some robot eyes just freaking out because Vanny's around. So let's talk about that wall code. This is likely written from whoever made the mimic. I'm willing to bet just Edwin, but this room has always been weird to me. It's out of the way, and you can't get in without Freddy glitching, and it's behind a wall of smoke. I'm willing to believe this room's not even real, but if it is real, let's read the whole wall code in a whole, so that we got a better understanding of this, because some people do just skip parts of it. Break and mend, I build the breath. They hunt now, drawn to life. Not real, still keen. And with fret and fraught and thought and zest and jest and no blunt woes. Dodge, duck, flash, shoot, crawl, run, crush the vile band. Do not hold out hope, no. Your life, your aim will save those with soul. Now you can't argue this does mention things Gregory does, but there are actions that not only Gregory does. Flash and shoot are done with tools exclusively inside the Pizzaplex. And duck, dodge, crawl, run aren't specific to Gregory. Heck, I'd argue Cassie does it just as much, these actions. She probably dodges more because of how much slower she is. This is definitely about something to do with the Mimic. And the reason why I say Edwin is because Edwin built the Mimic AI, you know, he built the band, and come the storyteller, which is, I'm still not fully through, I'm still like partially reading it, anyway. Become the storyteller, he's fully aware of what's going on. I don't know when he'd write this wall code, but it's still a real possibility that this room doesn't exist, and this is like a gameplay thing. But my point is just that this isn't about Gregory. He's just the one to do this. This wall code is a cry from help for the one who built the breath, likely being the Glamrock's Mimic AI, all that stuff. And I'll admit, like I just said there, I'm not that familiar to be with Tales, and I'm still reading through it. In fact, I just picked up Bobby Dot's conclusion the day I'm recording this, because it's funny how timing things works out. But I'm gonna say something here, and I am not attacking MatPat directly. I get it, people fuck up, but there's times where you just have to admit you messed up. Like say when I said that there's no evidence for Freddy being a different bot other than the prototype in his foot. I'll admit, I completely forgot about the green thing in his chest, but I think I'll make a shot about that or something. But for what MatPat said, somebody pointed out how he did spread misinformation, and I hate to be the one to say this, but he did. Let me explain here. So, when he talks about the Mimic story, he says that it's 100% about Henry and Charlie. No, it's 100% about Edwin and David, and the misinformation was him saying it was definitively about Charlie and Henry when they didn't even show up in the thing. Objectively, sure, you can pull that from it. I get it, you know, I'm still reading through it, but I get the parallels, even if I don't fully believe them. But saying that it is definitively about it makes me question some of the stuff he does bring up. But I'm not saying this to, like, scream at him saying he's wrong or anything. Please don't take this out of context. I am not saying MatPat is some bad person and needs more hate. It's just, that was one part of the video he made that really did, you know, let's say, annoy me a little bit, because he did actively spread misinformation there. You know, just like saying, oh, Bonnie died fighting back and that's why he's the most aggressive. That's just straight up misinformation and not said. You can interpret that from it, fine, sure, but saying that's exactly, definitively what was said is just downright lying. And so here's a fun next one. So here's a fun one. The ice cream that Gregory has with him in the Princess Quest ending, the truly canon ending, has Gregory biting into a Freddy popsicle. And apparently that's meant to show, oh, it's some connection to Fredbear. Now, this was solid evidence for a long time. And then we get to Ruin. You see, the Brazil ending is very clearly based on the ending, the Princess Quest ending. That's undeniable. Something that always stuck out to me is that they changed Gregory's popsicle. Gregory just has some regular ass ice cream now. It's no longer the Freddy head. I'm not joking. You can go and look at this. I'll show it on screen. Yeah, in the Brazil ending, he doesn't have the Freddy head anymore. Vanessa still has the mint ice cream she had in the Princess Quest ending. So it shows they could have kept it the same. But they specifically chose to change Gregory's and not Vanessa's. Meaning, if you want to get that ice cream back to baby or whatever, that's fine, you know, evidence is still there for it. But they fucking changed the ice cream head. And this is kind of why I said that, you know, in the beginning that at the time it made some sense, but now it doesn't anymore. Because of shit like this. Where in Ruin they went out of the way to give proper explanations for everything or change things. And yet some people are still clinging onto this idea for dear life when we're clearly moving away from it. And I could go on, and maybe I will if people start commenting. But ultimately, I've got to ask the ultimate question here for me. What's the narrative? As I explained in a previous video, I care about the narrative of these games. And for Gregbot, what story is being told here without making shit up? Tell me, just from Security Breach, Ruin, and Tales, what story you get out Gregbot? Because for every piece of evidence I've seen, and that we've fully dismantled here so far with other ones that I'm not even getting into, like, oh, he's durable. Well, Cassie's durable too, and she's clearly human. You know, being her eye drilled into and all. And not cracking, but whatever. But like, what's the story of Gregbot? He just kind of shows up as a robot, does a thing, and then leaves? What kind of story is that? And again, now that we have Cassie, who never seems to take any fall damage, but has her eye drilled into without her eye cracking, I think we can definitively say that the kids in this universe just have fall protection on. God, it's dumb that I have to bring this up, but here we are. Ultimate point here is that Gregbot is just unsatisfying. Like, here's the truth, right? Gregory is my favourite FNAF protagonist, and I'm including what little I've read of the books. Michael had really no character, not in the games anyway. And Cassie's nice, but like Charlie, the longer the story goes on, the less we're focusing on her and seemingly going to focus in on the daddy issues we got here. Seemingly. And it's why I don't want Cassie's dad to become a major character. Because, you know, you get to the fourth closet and so much of it is, oh, Henry. It's almost like, you know, FNAF 6 was coming out and did nothing to explain Henry, so we'll just go to the books. I wonder why that sounds familiar! And the reason he's my favourite is that Gregory is proactive. Things happen because he makes the choices. He doesn't sit around and wait for things to happen to him. He isn't thrown around by mimics and peepaws. He acts on his own fruition. He dismantles the bots because they're after him, and he's not gonna sit there and let himself get taken by them. He goes after Vanny because, you know, the disappearances plotline that kind of went fucking nowhere, I guess.
Well, we saw her hideout, right? In Phaser Blast? Maybe we could catch her there. If she thinks I escaped, maybe we can surprise her.
Yes! Come, let us end this.
The story happens because he makes choices, unlike in Ruin, where Cassie is dragged around by Mimic. Or in the original series, where we don't even know what Michael was doing. Was he on some kind of revenge scheme? Was he just looking for his father to get answers? We don't fucking know. But Gregory, we do know what's going on. He doesn't want to fucking die. And Gregbot ruins that about him. Because instead of having a character who acts of their own fruition, who is like, you know what, these bastards want to kill me, I am not standing for that. I'm gonna make sure I survive. And anything else good that happens from it, happens. That's the kind of character I like to see. The character who's proactive, the character who doesn't just sit around and lets the plot happen around them. The character who will go and do things because they need to be done. But if he's a robot, then this was all built into him. He had no choice. He was going to do it anyway. It takes away a lot of that agency that Gregory has, a lot of that characterization he had that made him, you know, really stand out as a good character to me. I think he was perfectly justified in destroying the bots, you know, but we can get into that another later day. But also him just being a random kid also makes the Mimic better. I'll make a separate video on the Mimic because I have this weird relationship with the Mimic right now as I'm going through Tales. But as it is, this theory is... it made sense at the time, but narratively it's gone nowhere. The evidence for it has been changed and, you know, been ignored a lot of the time now. And story-wise, it just makes everybody involved worse. from Mimic to Gregory himself, they all just become worse. And that's why I don't believe in Gregbot, because the story falls apart almost immediately. And so, until next time, take care, and this has been Why Gregbot is just unsatisfying. Goodbye.